applied the electrification of the bead roller. Got a winch motor which I've cannibalized and made a union to connect it to the shaft on there. 12 volt 60 amp DC converter to control the speed, and there we go. This is slow. And backwards. Happy days. So all I need to do now is make somewhere to mount all this off. I'm going to try and make up some sort of foot pedal arrangement so I can stand here and work with it. But to show you it working, put it back onto forwards. I'm going to run a bit of metal through it. That'll do us. And run that through there now. Perfect. There we go. Not a very neat bead, but I was just demonstrating that it works fine. Right, to show what I've done, the shaft, the spindle that came with this that held the cable, I just turned that down so it fitted inside a bit of tube, and we've run a bar in through there and pin the ends over to hold that, so it holds the little sprocket inside nice and neat, and welded a nut on there, put a grub screw in there so that holds under the flat that would normally hold the handle onto it. Around the back here is just a bit of inch box section. It's just bolted through and bolted under there and welded sort of roughly onto there. So it's nothing flash. I've kept it as simple as possible. I'm going to try and keep it as light as possible. If this works as it is, happy days. If I got to start strengthening it up, then so be it. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But this has worked quite well. So this is the speed controller, and it's all running off a battery for now, and I might keep it like that because I've got a solar panel which charges up the batteries for me. Right, let's see if we can make a box to house all this gubbings here. So what I'm thinking is something around the back here, locating it somewhere around the back here, and then have these switches just poking over this neck of the wood somewhere, so that when I'm working here I can just get to them quite easily there, and then a foot pedal down there to turn it on and off. So what I want to do is get a box, work out some sort of box so this will all fit into, and I can then bolt it down to leave it. I want to keep it above that level, that gap there, obviously, because that's where the steel goes through, or aluminium or aluminum, and that's the plan. So what I think I'll do, I'll swap this round in the vise so I can work at it from the back. Right, so the plan is to mount this somewhere around the back here so that it's out of harm's way, and have these poking through over there somewhere. Maybe that'll need to go up just a little bit. Okay, might be able to run my cables or cable tie them to that. Right. Let's see what we got here size wise. So need a box about 3.5 inches. So we'll come up proud of that. That's not the end of the world. If we had that there somewhere, my switches out the front of it, that'd be about right. So to allow for that, three and a half by right. I haven't really thought too far ahead on this, as I'm kind of winging this as I'm going. But if we have that sort of sitting up a little bit there, I can have all these switches and what have you sort of in that gap there. And while that fits snugly there somewhere. So if we had a box, it goes 6 inches wide by 4 inches. That's an easy one to remember. Just scribble this down somewhere so I don't forget. You see that? So it'll have a step over the top, which will sort of sit on there. And that is, get my glasses on. It's 15. So let's start cutting that out and make the basic box first, and we'll work out how we're going to mount it. I try not to think too far ahead on these things. I just do one step at a time and worry about the next bit as I get to it. Right, make a box. Scrap to play with. This is the side of an old boiler that got taken out quite a while ago. Just kept it because I knew the steel would come in handy. Right, let's give that a wipe over. Right, now then, I think that'll make basic back of our box. Right, so that's the idea. That will bend around that way. Let's scribe these lines down with something a bit sharper. Make our basic box like so, which will house the electronics. Right, so that's the idea with that. That'll fit snug against there. It'll got a gap underneath there, so steel or aluminium can go through, and place there for all these little gadgets to poke through. And that's going to be big enough for that. Oh, hang on, I might have to modify this. Oh no, it does fit. That's okay, that's good. Had a small panic attack then. Right, okay, so the controls are fit in that section there, and the electronics will house in there. I do need to make provision for the cables to come through. We'll come back to that in a minute. So the next bit we want is the piece to go across the front there to house the electronic switches. into the front like that. Again, just a couple of screws to hold it in place, and I think that will do us. Okay, so for the little display we need 22 by 14, for the switch we need a 19 by 12, and for the speed we need a 6mm hole. So let's see how this is going to look the nicest. Super! Right, that will then eventually look like that. Happy days! Right, now we can transfer it over onto the metal. Right, all I use to cut this out with is a jigsaw with the metal blade on it. Right, that should bend up to what we want it to be. Right, so got over the pillar drill, just started with a couple of starter holes. There we go. Right, that's our little panel done. Right, next challenge. Bend over this piece. Base should have bent that along that line. Right, let's flatten that back out again then. It's going to make that look horrible. Bottom. Right, let's try that again. The task should be averted, sort of. Good job, that's going to be on the back, so we're going to see it again. Right, let's bend these around now, so it's exactly Right, that's basically the idea. Right, so this has got to go on there, riveted together, and this has got to live inside there. Now I hear you all wondering why I don't use that when I'm working on the car. It does leave a nice finish, but also heats the panel up considerably. That's almost too hot to touch. Whereas so it's nice for the edges, I guess, but I find a normal grinder with a normal stone doesn't put so much heat into it, so you don't get the warpage. Of course on this it doesn't matter. That is scalding now. So that's why I don't use it on the car. I used to use it on the car, then I warped up a paddle with it hideously, and that was the end of that. Right, okay. That's not how I intended to do that. It has come out a lot nicer. Right, I'm wondering whether I should weld down onto there as well. So I can sort of get to behind it to stuff my electronics in as I want to. Yes, I think I might just do that. Now we're halfway down that road, might as well carry on. Waiting for this to dry off, just give another coat on that side, leave it dry off for it to come ready. I'll show you what I've done with this. So all I've done, I haven't welded this to here or anything. These do have a problem with them moving backwards and forwards. You'll notice that on the demonstration piece I did earlier, just to show it working. It's moving quite a lot backwards and forwards. I don't see it makes a lot of difference for what I'm doing, so for now I'm going to live with it, and maybe I'll deal with that later. Little modification I've done here is welded a little spanner to that nut there, which locks this in place. Just that easily locks that in place. I've added this bit of angle across here, just bolted it through with a little plate on it, little table, that helps. And holes, with drill holes in it, I can actually use those holes to centralise something for a circle, pull a circle, and I've used that. Come over here. I'm messing around with this VW sign. I did that on the bead roller. Now with this is very simple what I've done here. 2 bits of inch box section. You'll see this one's very slightly off centered to that one. That's to get this pinion drive out of the motor in the right place. Inside here I've simply trimmed down the, when you take one of these apart, it's hoist, 12-inch hoist, 12 volt hoist I should say. When you take them apart, it's pretty obvious what to do. There's a little cog that fits inside there, and that fits inside another cog on the other side, and you can turn that down either on a lathe or rig it up on a drill and just grind it down. And then a bit of inch internal diameter tube, you can slot it in and you can make it so you've got a connection between the two, and that works a treat. Nothing too complicated enough, quite easy enough to do. Right, there's the box finished. Build it up now, see how we get on. So that'll fit. I've drilled 2 holes in there, so I can just bolt that through then to hold that in place, like so. Lovely. There we go. Alright, next piece is that. Go there. I'll get on for now, see what it looks like, and then I'll come back to it. Well, that's not properly wired in or messed about with yet, but let's turn it around and just have a quick look and see what it looks like. Need to order some terminals for these. These were too long, so I had to cut them back. Right, there we go. So from here, I have to feed the metal in, forwards and backwards, and on and off, and speed, and that's just a little speed indicator. Not really necessary, but it came with the kit, so why not? Right, getting a little bit closer. I've been thinking about this issue with the forwards and backs there. I'm wondering if I can make a bar that will simply sit on there and go across and pick up at the wall somewhere, so I can just drop on as I'm using it. Save trying to reinforce all this. I can just clamp it against the wall. I'll have a further think about that, but that's kind of rattling down in my head at the moment. Right, we are complete. We have this all made up and in place, motor in place, connected to a battery, and I have a cheap eBay foot pedal. It cost a £5 or so, and it was easy enough to splice into the wiring onto this switch here. You get 3 wires, just splice the middle one, which is the power to the switch, to a make and break on there. So that was easy enough. So power on, choose your speed, choose your direction, press the pedal, and away we go. Pedal off, change direction. Happy days. That is going to be a fair bit easier to use than having one turning the handle and one fiddling on this side. So hope that's of use to you. It didn't really cost a lot to do it. I think the motor was just over 50 quid. The pedal was a £5, and the speed controller was about a tenner. So all in all, you're looking sort of less than 70 quid to motorise your bead roller. If you wanted to do 240 volt, you'd have to have then the transformer to go from 240 down to 12, and that'll add the cost onto it, but I'm happy enough to do it this way. It works fine enough. Also means that if I decide one day to make a stand for it and stick it outside, I don't have to worry about having to have 240 volt power to it. Yeah, brilliant. I hope you enjoyed that, and like and subscribe if you like the sort of thing we're doing here. Thanks for watching. Cheers.